meet people in bars, and you borrow their lighter, and you get into a conversation. They say, "What do you do?" And I say, "Well, I was as a career, I was a medical transcriptionist, but I also write, and I have some books on Amazon, and I have a YouTube channel." And they say, "Oh, I want to do that. I want to write, because the things I've seen in Thailand, it's amazing. People wouldn't believe it." Well, and naturally, they've seen the same things you've seen, and I've seen, and he's seen, and she's seen. But we all think that our perceptions are unique and new, and we all want to share those perceptions. So they'll ask your advice. How do I write a book? The only answer to that question is you write a book. You sit down at a keyboard and you start writing. And you keep writing until you're satisfied with what you've written, whether it's a short story, a poem, a play script, or a novel, or a book of creative nonfiction, which is what I write. You keep working on it until it's done. And you read as much as you can, and you ask people you trust to read what you've written and give you feedback. You start with short pieces, with writing exercises, character sketches, practice some dialogue, and eventually, God willing, you work your way up to writing something that you can be proud of. Whether you ever sell a single copy of it, whether you can ever show it to your mother or not, you work until you come up with something that you think is worth showing other people. And it never really is done. You will always come back to that piece of writing and discover that there's stuff you want to change. But that's the only way to do it. You sit down and you do it. I have been here now 4 days. The first 2 days were all about getting over the jet lag. The last 2 days have been about meeting old friends, and either they buy me a meal or I buy them a meal. At the end of this week, I will leave for Chiang Mai because I'm on my way to Phra. I have a religious pilgrimage to conduct. I want to take a little amulet I have to be blessed at the temple in Phra where it was created. And after that, I will go down to Phang Nga and hang around Khao Lak and Thai Muang and Phuket and see the old friends that I have there. Likely, after that, I don't know. It might be Bangkok. I don't particularly want to live in Bangkok, but I'm going to find a life for myself in Thailand. I promised myself when I left in 1997 that I would come back when I retired and live here. I have been retired 8 weeks now. I drove across the United States and said goodbye to my family and friends and came here 4 days ago. I've got 60 days of visa to make something happen so that I can stay here. My dream has always been to simply lie in a hammock on a beach and drink punch out of a coconut shell while somebody sweet rubbed my feet. I would like to find that. I would like to find a quiet beach in the south of Thailand and a little grass shack and some bottled water and no motorcycle noises, no traffic, and cheap food and cheap rent, and spend every day of the rest of my life on that beach. And if I am able to write another book there or create YouTube content there, that will be icing on the cake. I will certainly try to do those things. And we will all together discover whether I will be able to do those things. If I can keep your interest, if a year from now I still have your interest, I will count that as a major victory. When I cast my mind back and think about Phuket in the 1990s, which I do virtually constantly, certainly at my old job, I didn't have to think about my old job. The career I had for 20 years was something I did by rote. I did it automatically. I used about 7% of my mind to do it. And the rest of the 8 hours I was at work, my mind would drift. And often maybe always, drift back to Phuket in the 1990s. My first memory of that time is that I inhabited the body of a much stronger, younger, more ambitious man who had all his hair and all his teeth. And I am no longer any of those things. About Phuket, I remember a much cleaner place. I remember a lovely place full of very friendly, sweet, lovely people. Everything was more slow. The pace of everything was more slow. There was tourism. There was a lot of high-end, expensive tourism, and those tourists stayed in the resorts. They never left. You never saw them on the roads. You saw the backpackers on the roads, and those were your two kinds of tourists. You had expats, a small community on every beach of foreign expats, typically European expats, and there would be a Swedish bar and an Aussie bar and an Irish bar and maybe an American bar, and the next beach would have a Swedish bar and an Irish bar and an American bar. And those communities would congregate there, and there was a Lions Club where the Sikhs went. But for the most part, it was still a very Thai place. On the roads, you saw Thai people. In the markets, you saw Thai people. You never saw giant buses full of Chinese package tourists. On the beaches, people tried very hard to be good guests. Women did not take off the tops of their bathing suits. Men did not run around in tiny little thongs. People, if they had a skin condition, they wore a shirt. They didn't walk around with lesions displayed on the beach. And the stray dogs were friendly. And that's what I remember. That and my terrible, terrible marriage is what I remember from Phuket in the 90s. And the births of my children, which were wonderful, wonderful events. I hope that I understand that everything that I experienced in the 90s is gone and will never come back, any more than my teeth or my hair or my waistline will come back to what they were in the 90s. And I think, trying to recreate a new scene in the same location is a good way to put it. I want to build a new life for myself here, a more laid-back life that doesn't include hard work. And I hope I'm in a frame of mind now to better appreciate every single moment of that life. In my old life, even though Phuket was a better place, I think, and I was a much better man and a much stronger, younger, more ambitious man, my time and my feelings were wrapped up in work and getting ahead and making money and my terrible marriage. Now I don't have to worry about any of that. I'm not interested in any of that. Now I just want to experience the moment in a lovely, inexpensive place. And if I can find that and just, move in, become known to my neighbors and know my neighbors, learn more Thai language, learn more Thai customs, try to meditate again. I was a terrible meditator. I got into Buddhism like we all do. The first few years I was here, I married a very devout Buddhist woman. So I would go on meditation retreats and wear only white and eat only vegetables and sit and meditate, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang. And I was terrible at it. I had too much attachment. I wanted stuff. I was always thinking about work. Now, I don't think about work anymore. I'm retired. And I would like to try meditation again and see if I'm not a better Buddhist and a better meditator now. My relationship to things is much different. I have nothing. I came here with a suitcase full of t-shirts and a laptop computer. That is all I own in the world at the moment. I have my Social Security coming every month. Other than that, I have no investments. I own no property. And I wish I could say it's because I was a very, very good Buddhist. It's actually, I'm a very, very bad capitalist. But that has set me up now, I think, to reclaim Buddhism and be, I hope, a better Buddhist. I have a fraught relationship with Bangkok. I do not like the city, getting around in the city, the heat in the city, the hustle, the bustle, the pushiness, the grasping covetousness of society here. But as a young friend said to me recently, who comes from a very beautiful province, and she said, the money comes to Bangkok first, and then a small portion of it is distributed to the provinces, but most of the money stays in Bangkok. And if you want to make money, you live in Bangkok. I don't particularly need to make money, but I need to find documentation that will allow me to stay long-term in the kingdom. It appears, having been here only 4 days now, that is more likely to happen in Bangkok than in my idyllic fantasy of a hammock on a beach. Nobody's going to give me a visa for drinking punch out of a coconut shell. So I have to be prepared to establish this new life here in Bangkok. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. I know that Bangkok is not limited to Sukhumvit, whereas my impressions of Bangkok, certainly in the last 4 days, have been of Sukhumvit. And I know there are more scenic places, more quiet places, cheaper places, lovely places. And if I have to, that's where I'll be. If you're interested in following me on my new life in Thailand, and I promise that I will work very hard to provide content that makes it worth your time, join me. The channel is called Steve Rosse, R-O-S-S-E, Steve Rosse. And like and subscribe and comment and let me know what you like to see. I'm learning this as I go. And I enjoy every bit of advice and every comment that shows up on that channel. So Steve Rosse, R-O-S-S-E, like and subscribe, and I thank you very much for your attention.